Greetings, Greyhound fans, and welcome to the very first edition of the Coaches Show with Blake Pennock. Alongside Coach Pennock, I'm Trey, Brennan, and we're very excited to bring you this new show. We're going to take a deep dive into Ocean Springs football, all things football, each week as our team prepares to take on their opponent of the week. If you missed it Friday, the Greyhounds traveled to Hattiesburg to take on the Tigers for their second game of the 2022 campaign. They came out victorious with a 35-6 victory, moving to 2-0 on the season after beating Clinton in week 1 by a score of 31-13. Coach, you guys got off to a very quick start against Hattiesburg with J.P. Coulter returning the opening kickoff 85 yards, quickly followed by our defense with forcing a 3-and-out, which has kind of become a theme this year so far. How important is it for you and your team to get off to a quick start like that? What does it do for the guys?
It does. It gives everything. You know, it's really easy for us. You know, we try to always preach starting fast. It starts the momentum of the game. You never kind of want to slog through, which we kind of did a little bit the first week against Clinton, and we're able to withstand that. But we really big focus on starting fast, and you know, having the return for a touchdown was great, and then followed that by a 3-and-out, and then had a solid drive. You know, capped with another long touchdown pass to JP, and just it's kind of the exact way you want to start. Mm-hmm. You know, and so it looks good for us so far.
Awesome. And so, and that leads me to my next question: is that something you practice for? Like, is there a way to prepare for like jumping out to a quick start and getting ahead?
Well, we go through starting on Wednesday after practice. Our staff comes together and kind of scripts our openers. All right, so we usually script about the first 10 to 12 plays of the game offensively, and then defensively going through the things that we go through when we study the stuff that like our opponents have started with in the game to kind of have a really good idea of where we want to try to go defensively with that and type of pressure situations and coverage responsibilities and such. And then on Thursday we rep those, and then on Friday before the game we go through a walkthrough going back over those things again to try to start fast. We think that's the first 5 minutes of the game is a really important part of the game for us, and so we want to make sure we're prepared as much as we can be.
And it was really helpful. Obviously, the Greyhounds jumped out within the first 4 minutes of the game. They had a 14-0 lead and 2 touchdowns by JP, obviously, and then the defensive stand. But then you get into a point where you kind of go a little while without a score. What are you doing? What are your coaches on the sidelines doing during that moment? Trying to you jumped off to this fast start. Now we're dealing with we're up against it now. So how are we handling that?
Well, it's one of those things. You're dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-olds, and they remember the game from last year where it was a 48-0 kind of halftime lead, and so you jump out, you're preaching all week to control the controllables and do the things that you're supposed to do to be successful. And we start out, boom, touchdown, boom, another touchdown, and so 14-0 real quick, then you start getting a little relaxed, right? And I felt like we did that, lost focus a little bit in the game, and just didn't have the intensity that we normally have, and I thought we looked sloppy on offense, and then defensively there. We didn't give up any scores, but we weren't playing the way the Greyhound defense expects to play, missing tackles, not really keeping leverage, doing the little things that help us be successful. And so kind of got into a slog there the rest of the first half. And so it really, for us as coaches, we have to try to get them locked back in and get them to remember this is a football game and we want to play well in it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so throughout the game, you had success rushing the ball. Mm-hmm. Will Smith, sophomore running back, which is pretty remarkable to me, finished with 183 total yards, 30-yard catch, and 153 rushing, and 3 touchdowns. What does it mean to have a talented run game, success in a running game? How does that open up your offense for the passing hit?
Well, it's always a game within numbers. We're always going to start in the run game, and we do a lot of flashy things, with the ball in the air and stuff like that. But the main part of it is it starts with the numbers in the box, right? And so we want to make sure that we're able to always win the line of scrimmage the best we can. And, obviously using Bray with that, we had David Humphreys last year, and then Will Smith has stepped in, and just been seamless his first 2 games of his career, and it was a big thing. They did a good job, hemming up Bray and making sure he couldn't get loose, and they were doing some things on the front end of their defense to really kind of take some of that stuff away. And then we had to make an adjustment at halftime, got into some more 11 personnel tight end stuff, and using their rules against them in the game, and so we're able to get Will loose pretty good, and he had a great game. The dude has just phenomenal vision, great cut, short area quickness. So, really excited to wait him continue to have success, because in the long run of the season, we're going to need him.
Right, and it's got to feel good from the standpoint of Bray and our receiving core that you don't have to perform every single play. Obviously, you have to give 110%, but it's okay. We have a running game to support the passing game. We don't always have to count on throwing the ball. And not that we have in the past, but it's got to be kind of an easy feeling for the quarterback and for our receivers.
It does. And ultimately it's going to be good for the receivers as well, as long as we can run the football, because, obviously, if a defense can't stop the run, what do you want to try to do? You want to add a number to try to help stop the run, add an extra person. And when you do that, that singles up some of our receivers out wide. And I know JP gets doubled a lot, and Christian White, the 6'5" receiver we have, gives us an opportunity to win a one-on-one matchup as well. And so, for us, it's all good involved in everything. So when we try to be able to do that, to push the ball vertical a little bit more, which we hadn't really been able to do this season yet so far, because everybody is trying to limit the big play on the pass game.
And so moving across to the other side of the ball, with our Greyhound defense, through 2 games they've allowed a total of 19 points. You alluded earlier to the missed a couple tackles here and there, but overall they kept Hattiesburg out of the end zone. What can you say about our defense? Trey Carter again balled out. It's kind of becoming the standard for him. He's a big key player to watch on our defense. What does he do as team leader, like on the defense? Is there a guy they're looking at to kind of be the captain and call plays, things like that?
Absolutely. And the first way to start of it, I was super proud of defensively, because we just didn't play. We weren't as sharp as, one thing I like to see, and kind of as a barometer for me on defense, is when we make contact, where does the ball carrier go? Does he fall forward? Does he go backwards? And too many times in the first half was the ball carrier falling 2 yards forward, which to me tells me a little bit where the physicality and intensity is not there. And, we challenged them in the second half, or challenged them at halftime to just play with more intensity in the second half. And they owned up to it. They know they weren't playing to their standard, and, they dominated the football game in the second half. And we the offense put the defense in a bad position for that only score. But as far as Trey Carter is concerned, he's just a phenomenal player. He has great ball instincts. He's a very intelligent kid. He understands what the offense is trying to do. Does a tremendous job during the week during preparation. And then as far as a leader for us, Talon Carter is a guy that's a pulse for us on the defensive front. He's unblockable. He just does a tremendous job disrupting everything. And then our senior linebacker, Keyshawn Thomas, who's a 3-year starter for us, and a guy that's just a pulse of our defense. He's going to play hard. He's going to be where he's supposed to be. And just a guy that helps keep all those players accountable, to the standard of the way we're trying to play defense.
I was going to ask, how rewarding is it to have a linebacker like Keyshawn, who has 3 years of experience playing? How important is he to the defense, just his knowledge alone? Yeah,
to me, experience is invaluable. It absolutely is. And to be able to play and those things happen, he's basically seen everything at this point. He knows exactly what defenses are trying to do. He doesn't get caught up. Because, young players, you get in there and they don't have a lot of experience, and the lights come on and you got all this thing moving so fast, the band's playing, the crowd's cheering. Sometimes you can get lost in that and just start trying to react instead of playing your keys and doing your job. But having him there, he knows where things are, and it's also good for the morale, when you have negative things happen, to be able to handle the adversity in the game and be able to get our guys to keep them. Coaches can talk to their blue in the face sometimes, right. And your guy's going to respond to your peers a little more sometimes. And so, having him there and having that experience, that calming influence is really valuable for us as on defense.
So now, as we talked about, week 1, you traveled to Clinton, 3-hour drive. Week 2, drive to Hattiesburg, hour and a half. Yeah. So y'all already put 4.5 hours on the road.
We put our time in.
Well, really, 9 if you look at it. But so I guess my next question is, how do you prepare for a long road game like a Clinton or a Hattiesburg compared to a local road game like St. Martin or Biloxi? Is there a difference?
Yeah, it is. It cuts down some of your time, some of your downtime. You have to get some things in. We go to the church on game day and get our word from Brother Sam and eat there. But obviously they came to us this time, and we appreciate them so much for that. And get all that stuff in, and then we got to get travel. Make sure you have everything in your bag and all that different stuff, and then just jump on the road. And it's a long drive. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but for us, going through there, and understanding it's keeping your focus and getting yourself back awake and alert. And I've been super proud of the way we have handled 2 long road games against 2 pretty good football teams. With Clinton, Clinton's going to be a viable thing in Region 2 right there in 6A, and they've been there for years. And Hattiesburg made a run to the second round of the 5A championship last year, so they're going to be a really good team, and they play a tough schedule. So for us, just maintaining our focus and keeping us in alert and ready to go is going to be the biggest struggle. But now we don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
Thank God we're over those long trips.
Yeah, got him out of the way early. I got to say, to ride the yellow school bus up to Hattiesburg, all these big football players, you're talking about the biggest kids at the school, all on school buses, and ride an hour and a half, and then to come out and score 14 quick points. That's pretty remarkable. I don't think football players get enough appreciation for squeezing in like sardines on the school bus, especially for 90 minutes like that. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about this week's matchup against George County Rebels. You're listening to the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show with Blake Pennock and Trey Brennan. Welcome back to the Coaches Show with Blake Pennock. I'm Trey Brennan. Coach, looking towards this week, Friday we play George County Rebels. First home game of the year, Greyhound fans, so come out and support your team as they're finally home from the 2 long road games. They finally get to play in front of their own fans. Coach, what does George County bring to the table as a threat, and what are some of the things you guys are looking for as you face off against the Rebels?
Well, with my experience with George County, you can always count on them, one, being really well coached, and they're going to be tough, and they're going to be hard-nosed. Their coach, James Ray, does a tremendous job there. He's been there a while. He got promoted as the head coach, and they're incredibly athletic. They do a really good job with their scheme. They're going to be kind of similar schematically to us. They're going to spread it out. They're going to have a bunch of wideouts out there. They have a tremendously talented quarterback in Deuce Knight. It's a really good player, and they got a lot of weapons. Obviously, they always seem to have those guys come in there every single year that can play. And then defensively, they're going to be multiple up front. They're going to be able to do some things to try to create some chaos, and so they're gonna play hard. They're gonna be tough, and they're gonna be, a really good challenge for us. They played some games this year. They played a tight one against Gulfport, and lost a game last week on like the last play of the game, and so they're gonna be eager for a win. So I know they're gonna come in there and give us their best shot.
And you mentioned the athletes that they have come through there, and for a casual fan that might be watching this, you prepare for George County and you go to the game and you don't hear a lot of names coming in, but then you get there and you see a big player, because they usually have some size on them, and then you're like, and then you hear, oh yeah, they're a 4-star committed to this SEC school, and it's like, what? Where did that come from? So I know one of them we're going to keep an eye on is quarterback Deuce Knight, 6'4", 191, pretty big fella for a quarterback in high school. What does he bring passing the ball? What does that mean for our defense?
Well, it just means you better stay awake and better stay on your guy. I was able to this summer I was able to participate in that 601 Elite Quarterback Challenge in Hattiesburg, led by Wyatt Davis, who does a tremendous job, trains our quarterbacks as well, and Deuce was there, and so I got a chance to actually see him in person, and he just is a guy who has tremendous talent. He has an amazing arm. He can throw it from anywhere on the field, which is not all quarterbacks are like that, and so that means your coverage is you have to be responsible with those things, and you have to make sure you're doing your job and not leaving anybody open, because he can make you pay. He's really elusive too. He's a big kid, so you're gonna have to it's going to be a struggle to bring him down, similar to like Caden Irving. We played in the jamboree. You're gonna have to finish the tackle to make sure you don't break loose and create some chaos. So for us, it's really about being sound in our defensive structure and making sure that we do our job and stay alive and never really lose sight of where everybody is, to make sure we finish the plays.
Right, and without giving too much away, to contain a quarterback of his stature and his talent, What the defensive ends and stuff getting pressure. Like what are you guys emphasizing on the defense? Like here's how we're going to contain him. Here's our game plan.
Just making sure anytime you blitz, you got to be gap responsible, and you got to make sure you maintain leverage, and you don't if you're going to spill, you're going to make sure that you have somebody that is going to scrape over top to finish the play for you. If you got to contain upfield, you got when he steps up that you have somebody there ready to be in his face, and you just have to do a really good job of once getting off of blocks, because it's going to be hard for one guy to bring him down. And for us, the more people we get to the party, that's going to be the better results for us, I think.
George County is going to be hungry for a win. Obviously, like you mentioned, they lost a close one to Gulfport in week 1, lost on the last play to Greene County this past week. Yeah. So they're 0-2 coming into week 3, and they're this close to being 2-0. So what does that mean for you guys? Like, you have to be prepared for a George County team that's going to come out ready to fight, ready to put up in front of your fans. What are you telling the guys?
Well, it's an incredibly prideful program. Right, and they're used to winning. They usually do a good job, and those guys are going to be hungry, and there's nothing worse than a hungry dog. You know what I mean? And they're going to be willing to fight. And our guys still, coming off of last week, where we didn't really play as well as we wanted to play, and now we're getting back into the pep, and we're excited to be at that point in the season, and we want to play better going into our bye week. We want to make sure that we have a good taste in our mouth going into the bye week. So we're motivated to, 1, play Greyhound football, and then 2, we're having a good team coming in here, and we got to be on our P's and Q's to make sure that we do everything we need to be successful in the game.
George County has kind of a reputation for playing disciplined football. Would you agree that they're like you said, they're a well-coached team. They're not going to make the mistakes, so you have to when they do, you got to capitalize on it. Right. As far as the defense goes for George County, how does our offense stack up to them? What are some of the points that we're going to look to attack?
Well, with us, since I've been here, we've always been an offensive team, and we always want to be really good on offense. And so, for us, I think the biggest thing is we have to continue to make sure that they're young on defense. We got to continue to put the pressure on them and make them try to make those mistakes. And then once they do, they capitalize on it, And I think you can only do that by putting them in tough situations and making sure that we're, using our tempo and doing our, making sure we're in multiple formations, we're moving around and getting the balls, spreading it out to playmakers. And so I feel like, we're going to need to have a better day throwing the football than we did last week. And then once again, our offensive line, continuing to win the line of scrimmage. And, at the end of the day, we can do all the fancy things we want, but if it's a line of scrimmage game, and if you don't win that, then, you're going to struggle. And so we really challenged our guys up front to do a better job from the jump and from start and maintain that throughout the game. And so they're going to present some challenges. They're going to be in a 4-man front. They're going to do some blitzing there. And so we need to make sure that we're covering our gaps and really playing with good leverage and technique. And so for us to continue just to put the pressure on them is going to be the biggest key in the game.
So last segment we talked about the difference between preparing for a road game in Hattiesburg versus a road game locally here in town or around the coast. What about the difference in preparing for a road game versus a home game? So the first 2 weeks, 3-hour road trip, hour and a half road trip. Right. Now you're at home. You've got a lot more time, obviously, to prepare. What are some of the key differences that you guys are preparing?
You said it best. I think you have a lot of downtime, so you have to make sure you handle it the right way, right? You don't want to lose focus, guys. Kids. You're talking, like I said, you're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-olds that when they get bored, there's no telling what they want to get into. So you just got to be disciplined. Leaders on the team can. We always talk about within our program to be a player-driven program, and to make sure, especially some of the young guys that haven't done this before and that are on our team now, and so making sure they handle it the right way, staying focused, staying locked in, and making sure that ultimately it's about your performance on the field tonight, and that's what matters. It's nothing else that are going to be in and out, because you're going to have, home games always present a different type of deal, where parents, mom and dad, are coming to the game. A lot more distractions. That's exactly right. And so just handling it the right way and making sure. So our coaches are really always locked in. We got it all that time, to be able to make sure you have all your tips and reminders, making sure your run through and everything or walk through is all good and everybody's locked and loaded and knows what's going on. So really depending on our leaders there to make sure that happens.
Okay, so take us behind the scenes on game days when the player arrives to the field house. What is the walkthroughs, you mentioned going to church, pregame meal. Take us through that timeline, how you're keeping these students busy.
Yeah, so what we have going on, our guys, as soon as they get to us about 2:40, All right, and especially with a home game, they got to all park their cars off the way to make sure that the Greyhound fans are going to have somewhere to park.
Absolutely.
For the game, because they're going to be locked and loaded, ready to go. But to do that, we always start with a team meeting. All right, and I always get the pulse of our team and talk to them, remind them about our keys to victory and what tonight's about and everything else like that. And once we hit that, it's always pretty short, 5 minutes or so. We jump on the buses, go to the church, and everybody has to sit in their exact same seat. Everybody got superstitious, on us last year with all the wins and everything. But we get an awesome word from Brother Sam, and then his congregation. After that, we get a meal there, and that's when our guys go over their tips and reminders. And we usually give them each position coach gives their position kind of a short little quiz, and then some other tips and reminders, some pictures of different things. And during that time, during when we eat our pregame meal, is when our coaches all sit with their players and they go over that and making sure that everybody's locked and loaded and knows exactly what they're doing. Once we come back, we immediately the offense will go to the field. Defense usually goes in the weight room, and we have just a defensive walkthrough, just in their flip-flops and everything, talking about the first plays of the game and kind of stuff, making sure everybody understands what our third downs and first red zone plays are going to be. And then after that, they have an hour and a half or so to get downtime, and then at 5 o'clock, I come out of my office and pop the lights on, and it's go time. Everybody's ready to go, and the DJ and the speakers are in there rocking and rolling, getting everybody fired up and ready to go for the game pregame.
That sounds amazing. And like you said, keeping these kids busy from 2:40 to 7:30. They don't just show up an hour beforehand. It's not middle school ball where you show up an hour beforehand and ready to rock and roll. No, it's a commitment, and it's almost like a part-time job. I mean, it is a part-time job for these student athletes. Right. We're going to take a quick break, come back and wrap things up. This is the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show. All right, Greyhounds, welcome back. Once again, the Ocean Springs football team returns home for the first time this season to face off against the George County Rebels. Coach, we talked in earlier segments about what it means to return home and play in front of your own fans. The Hound Pound, the greatest student section on the coast, maybe the state. I'm a little biased. I know you're probably a little biased.
Absolutely, it is. There's no doubt.
So they showed out, Midnight Madness, packed, 12 a.m., by the way. Midnight Madness at midnight. Showed out against Gaucher for a scrimmage game on a Thursday night. Then went and made the trip to Clinton 3 hours. And we're up there on a school night on a Thursday night. And don't tell their teachers. And then they made the road trip to 90 minutes north to Hattiesburg. So, we're talking about a dedicated group of fans and students, students that, they're supporting their classmates, they're, supporting their football team. They got a lot of school pride. How does having a dedicated student section like the Hound Pound, what kind of difference does that make for you and your coaching staff and your players?
It makes all the difference in the world, and we're so fortunate here at Ocean Springs to have that kind of school spirit and that pride, in all of our sports, all of our athletics and different things and activities. And so, just having those guys here and creating energy, and sometimes, you get to play, especially on road games on our sideline. There's not obviously as many fans on the road games. So you have to create your own energy, and Mr. Shira with the band and everything helps with that, and then also the student section when they bring the speakers in and everything, they're crazy, and I know our players feed off that. It's a lot of emotion creates that in the game, and that's what a game of football is about, is emotion. So, for us it's great, and so once we get into the pep, then they go nuts, and it's just a giant party, and so we're really excited about that and getting a chance to be in there and go being 2-0, coming in the game and being ready to go, and I can't wait for it. I know that
it's certainly going to be a party at the Pep this Friday night. Greyhounds coming in, like you said, 2-0, first home game of the year. There's no excuses not to be there, folks. Bring a rain jacket. But you know what? We're made for this. It rained all summer. We're used to it now, and it's going to be a party at the Pep, along with the Blue Gray Pride, the Greyhound Faithful, and then the Hound Pound. It makes for a great experience and a great night for football in Ocean Springs. All right, Coach. Last question. Take us behind the scenes of the Pennock Castle on a Saturday following a victory.
What
you and your family doing?
Well, you know, obviously wins make it better, right? Obviously wins make it better because there's no doubt I enjoy I hate losses more than I enjoy wins. And so, but wins definitely make the event better, I mean. But, you know, for us, I don't really have many hobbies outside of golf. I don't hunt, I don't fish. I'm like always trying to be on the go. But college football is like my thing. All right, I love watching college football, and so, you know, I get up obviously early in the morning. I don't go to bed till late, really late, and because I am super wired for the game, and so then after that, I get up in the morning, watch a little college game day, whatever, have it planned out, whatever 11 a.m. game takes me to 2:30 takes me to 6, and so on, and I'm just parked right there, and so, you know, God bless my wife. She understands during football season that's my one day that I get to just do that and enjoy being around family and just kind of relaxing and doing everything, and then always take a peek at the next week's opponent before Sunday meetings and all that stuff. And so just a time to relax, enjoy, unwind before, you know, in 24 hours the next grind starts for the next week and it goes all over again. So that's kind of what we try to do. Understand it's always about football, especially during football season.
Right, and y'all are a big football family, big football fans. So I'm glad you take, at least if it's, you know, not a whole day, at least an extended period of detox from Ocean Springs football just for a minute, you know, enjoy some college ball and maybe watch some former players play on a national level. Coach, pleasure. Thanks for joining me. This is going to do it for the first ever edition of the Greyhound Football Coaches Show. Fans, make sure you join us Friday night as we take on George County at 7:30 p.m. Hugh Pepper Field. It's going to be a party at the Pep, Coach.
Absolutely. We're excited about it. Our players and coaches are ready to go.
All right. We hope you all have a great week, and go Greyhounds.